Top 11 Yakuza games. Number 11. The first PSP game. This is at the bottom because it has a different fighting system and different style in general, and I prefer the regular fighting system to all the other games, I mean. So these two had to sort of go at the bottom. And another pretty big part is that I hate the voice of the main character, Tetsuya, I forget if it's Tatsuya or Tetsuya. He's like an annoying, angry jerk in this game. The game in general, I mean, it's still a good game, it's just, it's for me at the bottom of the Yakuza pile. Number 10, the second PSP game. This one is actually, I found it to be a lot more enjoyable than the first, but the main guy, Tetsuya, has a different voice actor this time, which helped me not to be so annoyed at him all the time, which helped the overall enjoyment of the game. It's nice to be able to go to Osaka again. There's some other improvements. As I said in my review, this one made me curious to see a third game in the series. Number 9, Yakuza Kenzan. This one is probably a lot higher for a lot of you other Yakuza fans out there, but for me it comes the lowest of the main series of games, so to speak. Basically, it was a close call between this and the next game, but basically it's just, I mean, it's very simple. I love the regular Yakuza games a lot, and the storylines with Kazuma Kiryu and Haruka and Majima and Kage, etc. That's why I follow the main games. This stars Miyamoto Musashi, and I wasn't really familiar with the Miyamoto Musashi story before. I didn't watch the related animes or whatever, so the story was just a story to me. Gameplay is fine. Using swords is fun, even though it seems to make the game slightly easier, just because it never breaks, unlike the regular series swords. But yeah, it's even though I put it this low, I still like it a lot, and it's a very good game. Yakuza Kenzan. Number 8, Yakuza Ishin. Why did this win over Kenzan? Even though Kenzan does actually have the better storyline. After I watched it in English and even before, I thought the mystery it had going was pretty interesting. Paces itself well, and it led to a non-historical but still pretty daring finale. In this game, the storyline doesn't go to the same kind of heights that Kenzan did, but it does have a shitload of cameos from the rest of the series, and that's why I like this game slightly more, combined with the gameplay. The gameplay of Ishin is, to me, better than Kenzan, because in Kenzan you had the unarmed style, which is very sort of gimped compared to all the other games in the series, and you had the sword, and you had a sword, two swords, and the huge sword, and it's still kind of a sword. In Ishin, it was faster, it was more intense in general. You had the unarmed style, which is still sort of gimped. You had the sword, the pistol, the sword and pistol, and you can get like a big sword and a cannon, which is really fun. Basically, I'd say that all the cameos sort of put it over the top for me, because that's how much I love the original series. And now we come into the regular series with number 7, Yakuza Dead Souls, aka Yakuza of the End. Yakuza Dead Souls is seen by most people as the worst game, but to me it ends up this high just because it's part of the main type of Yakuza games, with Kazuma Kiryu, Goro Majima, etc. And my personal favorite, Godaryuji. When I played it the first time, I actually did think that the gameplay wasn't that good, but then it grew on me on consecutive playthroughs. Now I think that as soon as you get past Akiyama's chapter, where the game tries to take itself a bit too seriously, then when it gets into Majima's chapter, it gets really fun. And then it just builds on that, and the story is pretty good. And it's also a little bit the sentimentality of it. It used to be the last game ever made for the Yakuza series until 5 came along in English. So it used to be literally the end. So that sort of affected me a little bit. But I genuinely like this game. Number 6 with extra dip, Yakuza 5. The legendary, more or less now, Yakuza 5. Legendary because we had to wait like 3 years to get it. and I put a lot of stuff at the end of my reviews saying I want it, and I've wanted it for so long, and then it comes out, and it's awesome gameplay-wise, but the storyline's kind of, It has some great parts and some really touching parts, but it also has some really corny parts and a lot of drama that just sort of goes on, and well, see my review basically. Number 5, Yakuza 4. This game seems to be almost, well, I shouldn't say hated, but it's not very well liked by the community right now, nowadays. I disagree myself. I think it's very good. It felt very fresh when I first started playing it because it had 4 different characters. The storyline intertwining and going back to the past and then back again was pretty impressive to me. And everyone dislikes the story now because of one twist, basically, and I don't mind it. I think it's fine. Yeah, gameplay's good, story's good. This is just, as I said in my review, I still think this is just a solid through and through game. I like it. Number 4, Yakuza 3. I used to put this under 4 at first. I used to put 4 ahead of this. Because I used to think, I've actually changed my mind over time. I used to think that the story in this were kind of slow moving, and the revelation at the end is sort of like, really? There's still, I think, there is one revelation in the game that is sort of, really? That in a Yakuza game? But besides that, that's like one negative, and it has like a ton of positives. I like the orphanage stuff. At the beginning I thought it was kind of, is this really Yakuza? But then, no, I felt I got to know each of the kid a little bit, and seeing Kiryu trying to defend them, and then just the end of this game is just fantastic in general, and it has a great long battle, and it has great music. It has some great supporting characters like Kanda and Hamazaki. Mine is a good villain, much more complex than some of the other ones. Yeah, I've just learned to appreciate it much more over time, and now it's my number 4 pick. Number 3, Yakuza 0. This is kind of weird for me to put this high, because I haven't played it in English yet. But that, actually, it could come crashing down to a lower spot, possibly under 4 or something, if the story disappoints me in the way that Yakuza 5 did. But I don't think it will, because this has to do with Kiryu and Majima, and there's a lot of throwbacks to the first game and stuff. You have Dojima, Sohei is still alive, you have Kashiwagi, you have Fuma, even though you barely see him. And there's some great, just from basically looking at the pictures, there's some great drama in Majima's chapter. It's much better than in Kiryu's part. But I really, really look forward to playing this in English, and I'll be really surprised if it doesn't turn out to be an amazing Yakuza game. And that's why I'm already willing to say that this is my number 3. Right, time for the top echelon. It's Yakuza 1/Kiwami. As I said in my Kiwami review, now I don't feel any guilt of picking Yakuza 1 this high. I used to think that this was the best story still, but I've reevaluated that slightly over time. But now I used to always think like, yeah, the gameplay is kind of because it's a bit stiff and stuff. But with Kiwami, I don't have to care about that little thing anymore. So now I can definitely say yes, it's my number 2 pick. Kiryu's journey is very personal here, and he has a lot of strife to deal with, and he takes care of Haruka at the same time, and she doesn't become an annoying kid hanger-on. Instead, I felt the sort of paternal feeling that I wanted to protect her, just like Kiryu does in the game, which is kind of a great achievement. There's a lot of cool characters in the Tojo clan, and this starts all the conventions of the series, like fighting at the Millennium Tower and having the Tojo board meeting and stuff like that. So this game really came by surprise when I played it the first time, and it led me on to this whole series, and the story still holds up very, very well. And finally, number 1, not a huge surprise to most people who have followed my reviews, it's Yakuza 2. Electric Boogaloo. I debated with myself for a while. When I started playing this series, I ranked it 1, 2. But then I played Yakuza 2 again, and I switched it. In this game, he doesn't follow Kiryu as much. It's not as personal to him, but Sayama sort of her journey through the game sort of mirror his in the first game, and all the stuff happening around is so interesting. And the Tojo clan is in such peril in this game. They're under threat from various different places. At one point, the city is almost Kamurocho, I mean, not Tokyo, almost blown up. There's assassins, and there's some... Actually, people complain a lot about the twist in Yakuza 4, but Yakuza 2 really has a couple of really out there things going on. Like towards the end, you have like one big twist and like 5 minor twists, and a fake out ending. So the story is just great in general. There are a few moments of real sort of quiet introspection, not just blah 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 like some of the other games have, like just info dumps. It's kind of subtle, is what I'm trying to say. But when it's not subtle, it has Goda Ryuji, which is probably my favorite character after Kiryu. Even though he's not complex at all, he's super shallow, really. But he's just so cool. The gameplay still holds up very well. It's a lot improved over Yakuza 1, and I still can say that, like Yakuza 0 probably has the best gameplay, that or 5, but then I can still play Yakuza 2 any day, even though it's slightly stiff now compared to the newer games, and the camera angles are sort of prohibitive sometimes when they're like above you and still kind of close. And the music also probably the best in the series, along with 3. 2 and 3 probably have the best music according to me. I just have like nothing bad to say about this game, and you should play it. And Sega, you should make Kiwami 2. That's my top 11. Thank you for watching my reviews, and the next Yakuza video I'll make will be impressions or re-review of Yakuza 0 in English, followed by Yakuza 6. The end.